Avion, I will say, is known for their comedies. Our Gander audience love a comedy, and it's usually our highest ticket sales. When you say Avion's doing a comedy, we're guaranteed that that's going to be a good house for ticket sales. But in the festival each year, you're bringing your show to compete with up to 6 other groups across the province and Labrador. And so we often do something a little more, or considered a little more highbrow, or a little more, how should I say it, more serious theater. Now, comedies have been done, and we've done comedies in the festival as well, but you always try to look for a show that may be a little something more than what you would do in, say, your fall production.
And these shows, are they written? Who writes them? Is it these are sourced, general programs, or do you find writers? How does that work?
Yeah, within both the shows, usually we do shows that have been written by authors. You go out, you source the scripts, and you pay the royalties for the shows. So all these usually have been published scripts. The sketch comedy that we're doing now in the winter, now in January, I have written myself. I brought it to the table, and the group voted on that they would like to bring it to the stage. So I was fortunate enough to do that, and for them to accept. Usually, like I said, it is a published author out there, but the group really isn't against looking at local authors either. So it could be a variety of both, really.
It's about the quality of the show, the script, I guess, is what you would be looking for, and its suitability to your group.
For sure.
You have to look at the skill set within the group and the talent and the who could play what character even, and if a character in a script, you don't have anybody that suits it, and if anybody knows anything about casting, it's not as easy as one might think. You have to take a lot of things into consideration, right down to the size of the person. If they've got to be lifted, they can't be 250 pounds. So,
That's right.
no matter how good they are.
No, we often say the majority of the work, or 50% of the work, is your casting and trying to get that right to make your show as special as possible.
Yeah, it is. It's a big piece of it, and it's worthwhile, because you want to get that piece right. You want your stage performance to be believable, and you want good, solid people doing that. So now you mentioned the festival, so you're pretty competitive. You guys do okay with the festival. You have some credits?
Do.
Yeah.
We do. There's been many. The festival now is actually, this is the 70th year for the provincial drama festival, adult drama festival. It's actually the longest running full-length play festival in Canada.
Wow.
I know we're trying to actually, I know the organizing group in St. John's this year is trying to get it deemed as a heritage event, because it is quite the accolade to say that we're 70 years running. And in Avion's 66 years of existence, we have not missed one festival in all those years.
Wow. So you show up. They say that's they say that's the number one rule, right? Actually, I think it's a rule of acting, or the first thing you got to do is show up. So you guys are showing up.
That's right.
And so and the festival, you say there's 6 or 7 groups from around the province that would be a part of that.
Yeah, we have a variety of groups right throughout. It all depends on who's able to make it this year, depending on travel or how the group is doing financially, if they could travel to festival or if they have a show to bring there. So it does change each year depending on how many nights and how many groups are going to get involved. But this year we're fortunate enough to have a full week of full-length plays in St. John's during Easter week this year.
Wow. So if you're in the St. John's area, make sure to check that out, because, live theater is I lived near Stratford when I was in Ontario. And that was a huge bonus because theater, I would go to so many shows and as many as I could afford and find time for, and just I love live theater, and um, I hope people. I think you guys are doing okay. You've been around a long time. People do enjoy it, but to me, there's something special about being that close to the performance that you don't get from film or any other sort of or TV or any of that. There's a distance there, but when you're in the theater with people and the actors are on the stage and it's right there, it's a I don't know, it's a little more organic. It's a different kind of experience that I just love. Same with music. Same with any of the arts. That if you're in the room with them, it's a completely different thing. And I think that's different for the actors as well. Like actors who do theater and do film and do television and do all the different uh, tend to like doing the stage because of that immediate energy from immediate feedback from the audience is a nice thing too. So, and I'm sure you get
Totally.
lots
And
of
they
that.
always say, yeah, and they always say you shouldn't expect anything from your audience. You should go out there and give them the show that you would give an audience who's giving you 100% feedback to an audience that may be a little more quiet. But it definitely is something special. Something happens in the room when it's live between the audience and the people on stage. And like you said, the best word for it is an energy. And it just totally feeds the production. And it's really something we're thankful for because our audiences here in Gander and surrounding areas, I have to say, really support us, and it's a privilege to be able to bring what we love to do to people, because without an audience, I mean, it really wouldn't even be possible to do it.
And so we know what the audience gets from it. For you personally, being involved in community theater, what does it bring to you, and how does it, sort of enrich your life and experience?
Um, Well, for me personally, it's not something that I'm making a living at right now. So it gives me that outlet to still be creative and bring what I like to do in my spare time when I'm not working my regular job to kind of give me that fulfillment of being creative and being able to express myself. And like I said, I was really fortunate with this show that they allowed me to bring in something that I've written and then also direct it. Because I've done other productions, of course, by other authors, and have enjoyed that as well. But there's something really special about seeing your work from fruition to the stage, the end product, and seeing where it started is really that's a whole nother experience as well.
Now you wrote this play or this sketch comedy. Um, do you write other things? Are you a writer? Is that what you do, or is this just something that you've have decided to do this particular thing?
Yeah, I guess I would tote myself a little bit as a writer. All through high school, like I said, I was in the arts, and then one of my first jobs growing up was I was an actor within a dinner theater that was here in Gander. So about 10 years ago, myself and a business partner decided to bring dinner theater back to Gander. So, of course, like we were talking about earlier, you have a specific set of people, a group of people who have to do a show. So 10 years ago, I decided that it was easier to write for who I had than go out to try to find a script. So for the last 10 years, last year was the anniversary of our first year in operation. I basically written all the shows, and we used to do 2 to 3 shows every summer. So I do a little bit of writing. I don't know if I would, fully acclaim myself a writer, but it's something that I do enjoy to do, and especially if I have an idea or a jumping off point that I know that could really inspire me, that I could sit down and probably write a script for.
Yeah, and I write. I've written all sorts of things, and script writing is the thing that I have not done. So I always, always, I should try that. It should be, I should be able to put that on the resume that I at least, created one script, even if I do nothing with it. No, I never get around to. I think it just seems like such a different type of writing. it's all strictly dialogue. I mean, not 100%, but very much so, which I've always considered my weakest um, element of my writing, or was for years anyway. And so I guess I avoided it like the plague. It's like I'll go over here and I'll write, 120,000 word novel and not do the script. But it is interesting to me because there's a different, when I write a book or a story or a news article or whatever, I write it, it's done, there it is, that's it, right? But with a play, you write the written part. But then from that, or from a screenplay or a stage play, it doesn't matter, there's so much more creativity that happens after the writing, which fascinates me to see that go from, this, again, piece of paper with words on it. It's very static, and, you read it, and then you're done. You lift it off the page and make it come alive. And I find that absolutely fascinating because you're still creating with your work. And I also find
it's a little
fascinating.
nerve-wracking sometimes too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Especially comedy. Let me tell you, when you open that comedy, that opening night, you're sitting there thinking, "Oh my, are anyone even going to laugh at this? Am I funny?" It's something I constantly struggle with every year. So it's very nerve-wracking to put yourself out there and actually allow yourself to be vulnerable in that way, for sure.
Comedy is really hard to write. And I've done workshops, and we've talked about this with other writers, and even thinking about it. Generally speaking, you sit down and you read a book. There are very few books that will make you laugh out loud. Right? You read your book, you may chuckle. There are funny parts. There's amusement in it sometimes, but to actually get a laugh out of a book is really hard. And when you find a writer who can do that, Bill Rowe in this province, Bill Rowe, I find I'll read his book. I remember sitting and my mother-in-law reading his book, and she's reads a lot of mystery and sitting over reading his book, just laughing. And I'm thinking, and she's not a person who laughs a lot, like at what she's reading. She reads serious literature and enjoyed it as though she were watching it on the stage. It is a very difficult thing to write, and writers talk about it all the time, how to bring some lightness and levity into a book, and it's not easy. And so to then take that and make it funny on the stage is an extra amount of challenge. And I'm sure you guys are doing it. I hear that your plays are very funny. So
Excellent.
I mentioned to a couple of people that I was going to be talking to you, and they're like, "Oh, you should go to one of their shows. It's so funny. They're always so funny." So that's always good that you're getting there. So and I assume that you're so the sketch comedy, you've already done that. That's something you've already produced, or is that something that's what's upcoming?
Yeah. So, like I said, when I started the Dinner Theater 10 years ago, I started writing this Newfoundland sketch comedy because I grew up with my grandparents watching, say, like Laugh-In and Carol Burnett and Hee Haw and all that kind of thing, and even like our very own review here in the province. Right. So it's always something that really I really enjoyed. I like that kind of slapstick, quick comedy. You get to laugh and you go. So something that always really interested me. So I started writing it about 10 years ago, and I always did it with, say, high school, university students. But last year, Avion allowed me to do it with adults. So we brought it to the main stage last year for the 10-year anniversary of the show. And we had such an overwhelming response to it. It was, I think, in all of our years of existence, it's the highest grossing ticket selling show that Avion has ever done. So when we sat down back at the table this September, we were like, well, I guess we're going to have to do another installment. So I guess Nick has to get writing again. So luckily, I hadn't been producing the show here since the Dinner Theater closed a few years back, but I still write an installment for a group in Bay Roberts. They commissioned me to do a new installment for them every summer. So what I did is I got back to it and took some old skits and some new, and then wrote a whole bunch more and put together a whole new installment for this year. So it's beautiful skits and beautiful music and really funny skits and a lot of like quick one-liners, great costumes.